and welcome to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 438. Thank you for joining us. It is nice to be back after a week off, even though in that week, most of the world has continued to fall to shit. Really, I'm just happy to hear your all voices again. It's been a rough couple of days here, isolated where I am, and I don't know if it's been the same for you. How are you guys coping with the whole social distancing, everything else going on?
Well, you see, it can't affect me when I'm in the virtual realm. So I've been, well, not yet. That's a far off, distant future where you can get infected in the virtual realm, but we'll get to that someday. But right now, I've been doing a lot of escapism to get away from all of this, and in VR and just in video games and in Animal Crossing. And it's been working somewhat, so I'm very appreciative of all the great games coming out recently, including one that I've been playing that I also can't talk about right now. But next week.
What about you, Chris?
I'm doing as best as I can be doing. I'm not doing very well. No. I'm not doing very well, but it is what it is. I try very hard to focus on the positives and look at my negatives in comparison to the bigger picture of other people who have it so much worse than I do. And that kind of helps to a degree. But I think my two main problems come from not being able to go outside, which is kind of a big issue for me because I always feel quite sick if I don't get up and out and about. It might be psychosomatic, but I always feel kind of poorly. So I've not been feeling great about that. And the other thing, I think I said this before, and I'm going to try super fucking hard not to go down a path here, but I'm just angry. I'm just mad. I'm so angry. It's just waking up mad and going to bed mad.
And Charlotte, I saw your tweets this morning with your dad. I'm glad my parents are taking it a little more seriously, but I know that my brother, like a week ago when I spoke to him, was like, it's just the flu. I'm like, you idiot.
Yeah, I mean, it's more just making fun of, like, doing the whole family banter stuff where I'm just really not in the mood for it. I've been on my own for 2 weeks and there's a bit of fear of being on your own. But to be honest, I've settled into a routine and there's little things you can do to sort of cheer yourself up. Like the thing is that in Germany, you can still order stuff. You can still order food, takeaway and stuff like that. I've started ordering drinks to the house. Like you can order drinks, like crates of beer and things like that. So I've ordered like a crate of like glass bottles of cola and a crate of non-alcoholic beer is really good in Germany. So I've been having like nice drinks throughout the day while I've been working at home, and it's really cheered me up. I know that sounds pathetic and like the smallest thing ever, but just little things like that have really helped me to just brighten my day, that I'm not worrying about, drinking sugary drinks or rotting my teeth. Like in the grand scheme of things right now, it's not a big deal. Same with my diet. I'm not punishing myself for what I eat anymore. So I'm just like trying to go on myself, and that's really helped me to get through the past couple of weeks, just, looking after myself and treating myself now and then.
So much of the time it's about kind of the small joys and the small victories and the little pleasures. And even in like the worst week ever, you can still kind of find those small little avenues of just something you eat or something you play or just a certain conversation you have or something that you do creatively. My Twitter feed at the moment is one of two things. It's either people talking about COVID-19 or it's really hilarious clips from Animal Crossing. And they're like the only two things that are appearing on Twitter at the moment. So as I always say, and as you're saying here, Charlotte, you have to keep finding those small victories wherever they are. It can just be like a really good fucking sandwich you made, or it can be a multiplayer session with a game that you really enjoyed, or a film you finally got around to watching, maybe with someone who's in your house with you, or anything like that. And those are the things that are kind of going to get us through, because it is temporary. That's the thing. Like, it is temporary, and whilst it feels weird, and it's going to feel weird for a while, we just have to kind of create our own kind of small worlds within it until we all kind of come through this together, essentially.
Chris, I know you said earlier that, you go to bed angry, you wake up angry, and, I just wish that I could find something to help you with that. And I think I did. And I think this is something that we all would enjoy. I mean, if you're angry or scared or sad right now, wouldn't you like to be cheered up by all of your favorite celebrities singing a John Lennon song over Skype?
Oh, fuck
Mate,
off.
mate, like, oh,
Eat the
fuck
rich.
off.
Fuck off.
Eat the rich.
No, stress stop. It's not funny. I'll leave the fucking show. It's not funny. Fucking hell. Thanks, Wonder Woman.
Who fucking thought that was a good idea?
Rich fuckers. Rich fuckers.
And you look at some of the people in that video and you see like Sarah Silverman, Kristen Wiig, people you thought maybe had some, a decent head on their shoulders, a good sense about
Some
themselves,
self-awareness.
something that would have triggered an alert in their head to say, "Hey, maybe don't do this right now. Maybe we shouldn't sing this song."
And while we don't know how many people were called, like I don't know how many people were rung, they called up for like, "Hey, let's get in on this." I wonder whether the people who turned it down, like, said why they were turning it down. I wonder if people knew it was going, or whether they just said, "Oh, that sounds great, but I can't be a part of it. I'm busy," or whatever. But and the thing is, there's people in that video that I like.
Yeah.
And I never said that it wasn't. I don't think it came from a well-intended place. A lot of this stuff comes from well-meaning places. The Clintons dropping 400 pizzas on a healthcare, on hospitals and healthcare departments. It comes from a well-meant place, but it's so fucking bland. It's so fucking like blister on a shotgun wound. Plaster on a shotgun wound. Like, and it's from people who can do more. It's always from people who can fucking do more.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like everyone in that video is a millionaire or greater than that. Surely they could have done something other than waste all of our fucking time with this. It is not as inspirational as they clearly think it is.
I was saying online about like the pizza thing as well. What the fuck is it that, like, for my entire life, like, corporations or rich people or the elite, they always think the way to thank tireless, hardworking people is to buy them fucking pizza. Like it's a kid's birthday party or some shit.
It's like a Vince McMahon move or something.
It's just such a, whenever I had to stay behind at a shop to stock take, and it was like on a Friday night, the head office would always be like, but take some petty cash and treat the guys to some pizza. And now it's like a global fucking pandemic, and we've got politicians who are taking the petty cash and treating like people who are saving lives like to some pizza. It doesn't matter what level it is. That's like, let them eat cake. You know what I mean? It's like it's all we live for. If we keep working hard, we'll get that pizza. Do you know what I mean? It's I'm so fucking angry about it. There's so much that needs to be done that isn't solved by a fucking Papa John's pepperoni deep dish. Like.
But just to add a positive spin, there are some celebrities who are doing good. Like Rihanna is really, I think she's said that she's going to deal. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think she's basically her Bahamas she's from, right? I think she's helping them out massively, and also she's helped out New York. And she's not a billionaire, but she's giving a lot of money to help out various people with coronavirus. So there are some celebrities who are doing good, but those who are just singing is like now.
You say, you have to kind of look for the heroes because they are there. Do you know what I mean? And there's loads of them, But
you'll know which ones are a hero because they have slices of pizza.
I guess so, yeah.
Speaking of pizza, I've tested out contactless delivery of various takeaway stuffs because I want to support local business, and the risk of getting COVID from food is not all that high. So I need to make my food store stretch out a bit. But every time I've picked contactless delivery, and the guy's just like handed it over to me, and I've been like, ugh, step away. Like I picked contactless. Why are you all up in my grill? I don't get it.
I had a coworker try and I guess high five me or something because like she was walking out of our office and I was walking into it and she didn't notice me, so she scared and then she was like, "Oh no, it's okay." I guess she's just trying to assure me that I didn't scare her too bad. But as she approached me, I backed up like she was melting in front of me or something. Like I didn't know, like no, don't touch me, please, no.
Yeah, I still feel really bad. I went to a dinner party like 3 weeks ago, so when things weren't really exploding. With a couple of colleagues, and her roommate came up to me and we were like did this really weird hand dance about like whether to shake hands or not, and I must have pulled out and withdrawn my hand like 5 times in like quick succession.
I found like I was just cleaning up yesterday and I found the tiniest like quarter travel size bottle of hand sanitizer in the back of a drawer, and for like a few seconds I felt like the richest man on the planet. I felt so rich, in fact, that I almost made like a really condescending music video, but then I got over it.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, let's try and get into the show today. And I usually like to try and start us off with some sort of news story, but this week was it was really tough to not find anything COVID-19 related. I mean, everything I saw in the news had to do with it, from like a woman who coughed on $35,000 worth of food at a grocery store as a prank, to like this preacher who said he's not going to close his church because, in his words, his church has 13 machines that instantly kill any virus, saying if they sneeze, it shoots it down at like 100 miles per hour.
Okay.
Anyways.
You know that scene in Metal Gear Solid 5, spoiler alert for Metal Gear Solid 5, where they cast Huey Emmerich out to sea on a dinghy? I just want to do that to some of these people, seriously. just cast them out to sea.
So first you were all about firing them into the sun, and now you want to cast them out on dinghies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's getting more tolerant of them.
No, I'd say getting cast out to sea and just starving to death is more violent. Really. If you get catapulted into the sun, you'll burn up on impact. So
way before you get there. Yeah, so these are the types of stories that are making headlines right now because the only good people left are in hospitals or at grocery stores. But then I came across this couple out of Florida and figured this was good enough to start the week off. Specifically, we're going to Clearwater, Florida, where police arrested a man after he got in a physical altercation in a mall parking lot with his girlfriend. I should mention, they were both naked at the time. According to clickorlando.com, 21-year-old Robert Janish and his girlfriend decided to get frisky in a Clearwater Mall parking lot. So they got completely naked, which, by the way, why do you get completely naked if you're having car sex? That's just, you don't do that. Anyway, then they did the nasty, and that was around 9 o'clock at night. And afterward, the girlfriend said that she had to pee. So she just stepped outside of the car and did it right then. Again, these are in Florida, so it makes perfect sense when you think of it that way. And when she wiped herself with the napkin and threw it away, she accidentally threw it onto her boyfriend. That's when he started yelling at her about throwing her pee napkin. Police arrived. They were both still naked when they were broken up. And this is going to shock you guys, but they were drinking that day. I know. Who would have saw that coming in this situation?
To be fair, Florida is like swamp ass central. So to get naked before sex in a car, fine, whatever. In the context of Florida, everything else sounds like a random event you would see in like a GTA game.
Throwing your pee napkin sounds like a album title Steve Martin didn't go with in the 70s.
I just hope they didn't rim each other because, as you might have heard, the New York City Health Department is advising against rim jobs in this pressing time. Did any of you guys see that public notice?
I had to pause for a second. I didn't know whether you were joking or not.
No, this is real. Safety guidelines issued by the New York City Health Department is advising against doing rim jobs. By the way, you know this has to be the most fun the public information office for that health department has ever had, because like 2 weeks ago they were telling people how to properly wash their hands, and now they get to talk about rim jobs and 69ing. I've
been reading stuff lately. And don't just take this with a pinch of salt, but some people have been talking about how COVID can be spread through farts. So, but fecal, it can be spread fecally. So the question has been, can it be spread through farts? Which is just like, that would just be the cruelest timeline.
If it can be spread through farts, we must close down every Taco Bell immediately for at least a month. Hey, Occams.
Yo.
What are you going to do with your $1,200 coronavirus check?
Nothing. Put it in savings. It'll be interesting to see.
That's boring. I'm
Yep.
gonna wait till this is all over, and then I'm gonna buy me the nicest prostitute $1,200 can buy me, or like 2 medium prostitutes for $600 each. I think that's how that works.
Buy $1,201 prostitutes.
I was just gonna say you probably had 1,200 rounds with that piss napkin girl.
More bang for your buck. Hey.
I mean, at the end of this, I'm gonna have gone like 9 months without human contact of any kind. I'm gonna need to catch up. So maybe the 1,200 is a good idea. I don't want to know what a $1 hooker looks like where I live, though.
It's just amputees and no teeth.
All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games. And I will start us off with a game called Good Job. This was released back on Thursday. It is a puzzle game set in a workplace that's divided into several floors and different departments, and you play as the kid of the boss who must work their way up from bottom to the top. And each room or each floor on this in this building has 4 different rooms. And each room is its own different type of puzzle. So like the very first one you'll do, it'll ask you to hook up a projector, and you'll see a projector that explodes in one room, and you'll find a working one in another room. And you basically have 2 different options about how to go through this. You can do it slow and easy, take it through without breaking anything, without knocking everything over, being as careful as you possibly can. Takes a little extra time, but you get it done. Or you can say, fuck it, destroy everything in your path to get it to the room as fast as possible. Those are really your 2 options when going through this game. Do you get it done fast, or do you get it done right? And this game is a whole lot more entertaining when you get it done fast. A lot of these puzzles can take upwards of 20 minutes if you're trying to do it slow and steady and not break a single thing. But if you're just running through it, you can get it done in 5. No problem, no sweat. I did the first puzzle in 43 seconds because I just flung this projector through 2 different walls to get it hooked up in time in this room. So it is incredibly fun. I went through it. I beat it yesterday. Has a really great sense of progression. There's a lot of different variety in these puzzles. Some of them are a bit less entertaining than others are. There's one that you have to clean an entire floor of this purple goo, and you have to get 100%. And so I got to like 99%, and I'm just like, well, fuck, where is this one tiny little spot of goo that I haven't cleaned up? And I ended up breaking everything in this fucking floor in order to find it. So I did not do good on that floor. But the interesting thing seems to be that your score is based on either how fast you get it done or how careful you are. So like if I go through a puzzle and it takes me 25 minutes, which it has, but I don't break anything, my score, my time that I get, the score that I get for my time will be like a C or a D, but my how much I broke and how many items I broke and how much the items cost will both be S's, which is the top ranking, and so I'll have an S rating for that level. So it seems to be whichever one you get done. Whichever one is highest is the score that you get, because on that first floor where I went through, or first puzzle challenge when I went through and destroyed everything and got it done in 43 seconds, I got an A score for my time, and that was my final score for the floor, or for that challenge. So it's an interesting way of scoring it, but ultimately it looks like the only way to get an S rating, which again I believe is the highest, is to not break anything. And the one problem with this game is that it is ridiculously easy to break stuff. If you accidentally walk into a traffic cone or a hazard cone and just briefly tap it, it falls over, $5 broken, and you no longer get an S rating because you have to break absolutely nothing to get an S rating. And so it becomes a real issue in some of the later floors where you have to move stuff out of the way, and basically everything in this game can be picked up and moved or pushed and moved in some way. But the game doesn't really have a good way of detecting what it is you're trying to grab. You'll stand in front of something and it'll like highlight the box when what you want to grab is something that's sitting on top of the box. And so you have to like reposition your character in order to grab that thing on top of the box. And it would have been nice if there was some button option that could have cycled through the available things that you can grab. There might be. I tried the buttons. I'll try it again before I write my review after the show. But that just would have been the nice thing, because like everything breaks. You pick up that box with something on top of it, the thing on top of it's going to fly off and break and ruin your perfect S score. So that can be annoying if you're going for the best rating possible. But if you're just going through this game, trying to get everything done and seeing the different challenges, it's much more entertaining when you're taking it as recklessly as possible.
So is there a story for this?
The story is you're the boss's kid and you're working your way up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like all of the characters in it are they're the like black silhouettes that you find on like wet floor signs or
okay.
Yeah, like that's every character in this game is that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Dan. And you talked about this earlier. You've been going into VR.
Yeah. I picked up a VR headset off my friend, specifically to play Half-Life Alyx, because I figured if there was going to be any game that would get me into VR, it's going to be that. And so I decided to try and get a hold of a headset as cheaply as possible, and thankfully I managed that. But anyways, I want to talk about Half-Life Alyx, but more specifically, because there's already probably a million reviews out there and takes on the game, I want to talk about a specific chapter in Half-Life Alyx.
Okay.
Chapter named Jeff. Now, Jeff is both a chapter and a character, I guess? But anyways, Chapter Jeff is a stealth section in a game. Now, normally, stealth sections make me groan, especially like in non-stealth games. Like the Uncharted stealth sections can fuck off.
Right.
They're really bad.
Yeah.
And so I went in not knowing what to really expect at first. And without giving any like context to plot or anything like that, you essentially have to sneak your way through a factory full of a distillery, full of vodka bottles everywhere. And Jeff is this creature, like something out of The Thing. Its head is split down the middle, so it has like a head within like a split head, and it's spewing out this stuff everywhere that makes Alyx cough. And to stop coughing, you have to actually put the controller up to your headset to mimic her hand going over her mouth, and sneak your way through this in room scale VR. And it can't see, but it can hear. And there's vodka bottles everywhere. So as you can imagine, it's something. And so you're constantly picking up bottles, throwing them around to try and lure it away. And at first I thought like, oh, I've played this type of gimmick before where lure it away with sound. But then there's this one section where you have to get inside this like giant kind of freight elevator, like an elevator for giant pallets and whatnot and stuff. So an oversized elevator basically. And you gotta start it up. Now, initially, I thought, okay, I didn't make a mad dash for the elevator, and then that'll probably be the end of the sequence. But nah, man, this thing, once you start the elevator and you think it's over, you're like, oh, this sequence is over. It rips open the door and gets in the elevator with you. And in VR, in scale, with this giant, like, thing spewing shit everywhere in front of you, and you have to then, in this tiny little space, get to a button to start the elevator to make it go down. Well, it's just kind of standing in the corner, is one of the most terrifying moments in any game I've ever played.
I'll bet. Like, it sounded scary enough when you were just talking about the going through the warehouse part. But yeah, that I can imagine like how claustrophobic and stuff that is. I bet it's horrible. Yeah. I
was scrunched up in a corner, not sure what to do. And I was like quit saving with every footstep I was making. Thankfully, you can quit save. And I ended up getting like physically on my knees and like slowly reaching out towards the button in the corner, hoping they wouldn't see me. And thankfully that worked. And then you start up the elevator, it goes all the way down. And then you open up a door. You think it's finally over again. And the moment you open up this door, there's a crate of vodka bottles behind it that falls over. And then you gotta make a mad dash through this factory. Bottles are breaking everywhere. And then head crabs are like jumping at you, knocking over more bottles. It's one of the most stressful and best moments in a game I've ever played. Like, Jeff is one of the most memorable levels in a Half-Life game for me ever.
That sounds like a deleted scene from The Quiet Place 2.
It really is.
That just sounds fucking wild, because it sounds like something I really want to play, but I'm probably not gonna, you know what I mean? But
yeah, that seems like the general consensus. If there's any more I'll say about Half-Life, or Half-Life Alyx, I should say, it's probably like the reason to play a VR game. But that all said, I hope if there is going to be a Half-Life 3, and once done without any spoilers, it ends on the note of like there's going to be more. So I'm just hoping it's not a 13-year wait again. And I do think if there is going to be a hypothetical Half-Life 3, hopefully they just mimic like the Resident Evil 7 format of like, yeah, you play normally, but there's also VR. That's what I'm hoping for anyways, because I do feel like a lot of people are going to be locked out of missing Alyx, and that's a damn shame, because Alyx is an incredible game.
Well, the Valve is already saying that it knows that people are working on a non-VR mod for it, so one way or another, it's going to be playable without a headset. But what headset are you using, by the way?
I'm using a Vive. It's a first-generation Vive, so like the FOV is a bit limited. The Vive controllers are not great, but they work. So
Right.
it was a cheap. Buying it used was cheap enough. It was only like I bought it off my friend for $200. So for $200, I was willing to dip into that for play Half-Life. Black Red Gaming on the C blogs wrote a whole entire thing breaking down the entire Jeff sequence in Half-Life Alyx. So I recommend reading that. It's a great read.
Very nice. Occams, you've been
Yo.
hitting up some Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I've started that recently, and that's been really fun. I just it's the first Doom, I guess. Well, the Doom, whatever, it's just called Doom, I guess.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, Doom 2016. It really reminded me just how much I enjoyed first-person shooters, and how like when a game just distills itself down to the essence of what makes a first-person shooter really fun. It's just a good time in a very simple way. So this one is kind of doing the same thing. There are a number of, I guess you could call them jump movement puzzles, sort of like figuring out how to get from point A to point B. That it can be a little annoying, just because you kind of, I just want to shoot stuff, and there's a lot of like you have to get to the place where you can shoot stuff, but it is very fun, and the levels are very pretty. And so far it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot more story this time around, which is kind of weird, but I like it. Like it isn't. I think I've read a couple people sort of maybe not thrilled at the idea of there being some story to the Doomslayer beyond just rip and tear. But
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it for what it is. It's silly and dramatic and over the top, but it's Doom. I'm so it's a good time.
And that's what you want from Doom, silly and over the top.
Very much so.
Have you tried out this? Have you tried out battle mode yet?
Not even a little bit.
Oh, I don't know why I asked, because I knew the answer. But
Yeah, that's the multiplayer, right?
I think yeah, it's like
Yeah, see, I don't care. I'm not doing that. No. Oh, this was fun. So I didn't realize I had Twitch Prime because I have Amazon Prime,
Mhm.
and so I activated that because when you have Twitch Prime and you play Doom Eternal, you get this costume where the Doom Slayer dresses up sort of like a big, bulky, insane unicorn man, and it's really fun because the cutscenes are all like you're defying the will of hell, and you're like have sparkles coming off of you the whole time, and I adore that. It's shit like Saints Row. Anytime there was a serious moment in Saints Row, but my character was a like 9 foot tall, overweight woman with a very thick kind of British dude's accent. It was, I like that kind of disconnect. So
That's always my favorite part of going. If anytime I go back through a game, if there are silly costumes to unlock to put them in, yeah, I'll absolutely do that.
absolutely. Like I wish that was in Last of Us. Like you could like address Joel as a hot dog man. So when he's
Ellie is
cradling
Mr.
his,
Met.
yeah, when he's cradling his dead kid, he can sob in a hot dog man costume.
All right, and let's go ahead and wrap up with Charlotte. Charlotte, you are excited because Disney Plus is finally in Europe?
Yeah. So there's two things that I've watched on Disney Plus this week that I'd like to talk about. The first thing is a heck of a lot of Simpsons. So it's great. In Germany, it's not all that easy to watch The Simpsons in English.
Mhm.
It's broadcast on, I think, Comedy Central, with the dub now and then, if I remember correctly. And maybe it's easier if you have Sky, but it's not like readily available on streaming services or anything. So to have 30 seasons of The Simpsons suddenly be available for €7 a month is just fabulous for me because it's my favorite show of all time. I've heard complaints about the aspect ratio and it doesn't look very good, but I don't give a shit about that. It's just great to watch The Simpsons again. And even to watch some of the newer stuff, because I'd like to not criticize it without actually having watched it. So I'm going to be watching some of the more modern episodes. Probably missed the Lady Gaga one, but the ones that people have said are okay. I'll give a look. So there's a couple of Disney shows that I want to watch, but me and my boyfriend are separated at the moment because of coronavirus. So I'm waiting till we're together again to watch them with him. But one thing I did watch was a really cool documentary called Free Solo, because Disney Plus also has National Geographic documentaries on it as well.
Yeah.
So I watched this documentary called Free Solo, which is about Alyx Honnold, who is a very well-known climber, and one of the things that he was trying to do was to be the first guy to climb, I think he was the first guy to climb El Capitan with no harness on his own. And it's all about him preparing for it, and he gets a girlfriend, and then it's like, how do I balance being in a relationship with doing this thing that if I literally take one false step, it's going to kill me? And then there's the question of, is the fact I'm documenting this with a camera crew, is that putting me off? Because Alyx Honnold apparently used to just go off and not tell anybody until afterwards that he'd gone on these dangerous climbs, but now he's under the pressure of a camera crew.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun documentary. There's something similar that's on Netflix, not about Alyx Honnold, but about a pair of guys doing without harness climb of El Capitan together. And that actually preferred that one a bit because how do I put this? Alyx Honnold doesn't come across as the most sympathetic character. He's got quite there's a lot of discussion. How do I put this? There's a lot of discussion about whether his behavior is to do with him potentially having Asperger's syndrome, but it comes across as in his relationships, he's not that nice to his girlfriend. And he's like, he's like basically to her, like, yeah, it's, he's very much like, your feelings don't affect my decisions to go climbing or not, and whether you're upset doesn't really affect my decisions, which I can respect that, but at the same time, it's not the most warming, feeling to watch the things he's saying, even if you can understand maybe why he's like that and respect it in a way. But the documentary on Netflix, I felt like it also, I don't know, there was also just a lot of very uncomfortable stuff in Free Solo about Alex's family. Because the question is whether he's the way he is because of he's neuroatypical, but also because his family wasn't super supportive. There's just always this uncomfortable feeling of like, he's doing great things, but is he doing great things to the detriment of other people? Whereas the Netflix documentary, which the name eludes me at the minute, was very much not like that. It was more focused on whether the climb and whether they'd manage it, and them trying different jumps and struggling and having to do it at a certain time of day. So that one was a bit more a bit less hard work to watch.
Is it the Dawn Wall?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was very enjoyable. Free Solo was also very enjoyable. It's just, if you're the sort of person who needs to be rooting for the person who you're watching, you might not be rooting for Alyx Honnold throughout this. I don't know. I could see why he was the way he was, so I had quite a bit of respect for it, but he does, and this has been covered in newspaper interviews as well, a lot of people saying that he's so determined in his pursuit that you wonder if it's like to the detriment of him actually coming across as a nice guy. So yeah, it's a bit harder work, but it's still pretty good. And there's a lot more National Geographic documentaries on Disney Plus. So at the moment, I'm pretty happy with the service. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term subscription for me. Maybe after a few months, I'll be done with it. But at the moment, it's pretty good.
I will say, in regards to El Capitan, that's in Yosemite National Park, I have seen it, and it is foreboding on the ground. Like, I can't even imagine attempting to climb that thing. Just looking at it sends a shiver up my spine. As for The Simpsons, Disney did come out and say that it was going to fix the aspect ratio for older episodes. It was supposed to happen sometime around this spring, so that may be coming soon. And also, one of my new favorite joys in life is to torture Chris with plot lines from new episodes of The Simpsons. So if you're thinking about watching new episodes, just know that last week's had Marge and Homer get employed at competing marijuana facilities. So, yeah. Maybe don't go too far into the current stuff if you want to still think of the show as your favorite of all time.
It's crazy because you said, there was like all 30 seasons on there, and that's awesome, but you're only going to watch 1/3 of them.
Like the marijuana farm plot line that you just said, though.
Dispensaries, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand why people have problems with South Park. I completely understand why some people boycott. But have you watched the season where, what's his face?
Randy
runs a marijuana farm, like the Tegrity Farm.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of that. I think the last one I saw was the one where he went to China, which would probably be in poor taste now, but yeah.
Yeah, but that was some of my favorite South Park ever. That was brilliant. I don't know why,
really
but just the idea of it being set on a marijuana farm randomly for it's sort of like, how Aquatine just changed itself completely 4 times throughout the run. Just having an entire season where they're just on a marijuana farm. I thought that was great.
This is Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, which means it is time for the news.
This is the news!
And we actually have something to talk about this week other than COVID-19, because Nintendo had a mini direct this week. There was a lot in the presentation that are mostly titles coming out over the next 2 to 3 months. We got release dates for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Catherine Full Body is coming in July. 2K is releasing Borderlands Collection, BioShock Collection, and the XCOM 2 Collection, all coming in May. Several games were released the day of the Direct, including Good Job, which I talked about earlier, and Panzer Dragoon, which if you read Chris Carter's review, might be worth waiting for a price drop on. We also found out that Ninjala is still alive and is free to play. Clubhouse Games is making a return this summer, and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is getting ported to the Switch and PlayStation 4. And of course, the biggest news of the reveal is we found out that the next DLC character for Smash Brothers is going to be a fighter from ARMS, which I guess means Nintendo has some faith in that franchise. Charlotte, you just bought a Switch, didn't you?
No, I've pre-ordered the pink one, but I might cancel that. I keep thinking of ordering a Switch and then canceling it. But the thing is, I'm on Yakuza. I forgot to mention I'm on Yakuza 5 now. Absolutely fantastic. Just I don't want to bore people by speaking about Yakuza every single week. But once I'm done with my big Yakuza run, I'm thinking of, instead of getting a Switch, starting Kingdom Hearts. So it's one or the other really. So we'll see.
I have the 3 discs that have the entire Kingdom Hearts series, and I'm just I don't know if I have 400 hours I want to dedicate to beating this entire thing.
It's killing me because I played the first one, 15 years ago, whenever it was, and I loved it. I could not stop playing it until I'd done everything in it and finished it. And then I thought the second one was trash, and that's so fucking controversial amongst the fan base because everyone's the second one's the best one or whatever. But I had the best time with that first game, and I really, really didn't like the second one. And so the third one's come along, and because I haven't played any of the side games or anything like that, and I didn't really enjoy the second, but it sucks, man, because that's a cool franchise. As in, that franchise is really interesting and has got some great mechanics and great characters, and it picks the best of both the worlds it uses and comes up with some pretty good ideas with them. But I think it might be too late in the day for me to be right, need to start playing through all those games again. I don't know.
I think I started playing the first one on sometime last year, and I think I'm to the final castle, but I have to now grind it out because I'm too low level, and I'm just I really hate the combat in this game. I don't want to do this, but I don't know. Eventually, I'll get bored enough that I'll push myself to do it. If I can spend 4 hours grinding my way through a friggin' Bravely Default 2 demo, I'm sure I can put 2 hours into grinding through Kingdom Hearts. Any feedback or any big surprises? Something you're happy about with the Direct? Anyone?
The BioShock collection. I'm excited about that. I'm worried about maybe who's doing the port. I don't know anything about who's tackling that, but BioShock, like, on the go is very exciting. I remember when BioShock, or I shouldn't say BioShock, but I remember they announced like a Vita game way back when that got scrapped. And I've been like just kind of like waiting and waiting for BioShock to end up on Switch. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to grab that for sure.
Now, the Vita game would have been amazing because it was, if I recall correctly, a tactics game that you played through the big war that happens in Rapture before you arrive in the first BioShock.
That's correct, yeah. That sounded like a really cool concept. So hopefully maybe one day that gets revived somehow.
What I do know about all three of those collections is that they're all coming on tiny game cards, and you need to have a lot of space on your memory card in order to download the full games. Unfortunately, is not a Witcher 3 situation.
Just like LA Noire.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think the BioShock one is 16 gig, and it's got the first acts of the 3 games, and the rest of all 3 games you have to download. Yeah.
I think the Borderlands one is 8 gig, and it only has the first game.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested to see the return of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, although I kind of just wish they were making a new one instead of porting the old one over.
It's like it's probably the best thing that came out of that film, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is like that game. And the Lego ones that are all right. And there was an arcade. Did you ever play the arcade where you were like sat in the pod?
Yeah, the Racer arcade game. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
For me, the best things that come out of that are Episode 1 Racer arcade pod, then Jar Jar Binks, and then Jar Jar Binks 10 more times, and then maybe the Lego games.
Why would you say something controversial yet so brave? Episode 1 basically killed pinball, as in killed the genre, because Williams, who'd been putting out pinball games for like 2 decades, and some of the best.
Oh, yeah.
They put out an Episode 1 pinball machine that had like holograms in it, and it was a hologram of Jar Jar Binks that like, ran all over the table while you were playing, and it cost like a fortune, and no fucker bought it, and basically it ended Williams ever making pinball machines ever again.
Oh, that's so sad. I'd never heard that story before.
Wow.
Just a whole other reason to fucking hate Jar Jar.
I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who tuned in to the Stream Aid 2020. Enthusiast Gaming, Destructoid's parent company, was proud to be a part of the charity event raising money for the United Nations COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. The 12-hour stream featured many popular streamers and athletes, including Richard Sherman, who may be a 49er now, but he'll always be a Super Bowl champion Seahawk in my heart. The campaign had a fundraising goal of $2.5 million and ended up raising north of 2.7. So 2.7 million, I should say, not $2.7. So big congratulations to the organizers of that stream for getting it together so quickly and crushing that goal. Occams, we're just about out of time. Do we have a shout out this week?
Yeah, it's kind of just a general shout out to the community, especially in what is a very difficult time for everybody, and everyone's kind of going through their own thing related to this and whatever else happening. Just seeing the community kind of be there for each other, and game recommendations, venting, whatever. It just for a lot of people, it's a good chance to maybe it's their only social interaction in the waking world. So it's quick posts, community blogs, comments, whatever. Just the community is really kind of there for each other, and that always means a lot to me and to everyone else. So thank you, community.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. They're so good. They're so just like, I did that what you've been playing yesterday, like I usually do, and by the end of the day, like they have 200 comments on. And if you look through, that's not 200 comments of people just saying, "Here's what I've been playing. Goodbye." It's conversation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I might not be I am really not the most active on the community for the past year at least, but it just warms my heart to hear that that's what's going on and that people can be a support for each other. Some people, like, don't want to make this about me, but me, for instance, I've been on my own in my apartment for 2 weeks. That's going to end tomorrow, but I've been on my own, and it really does take a toll. So reaching out to people online, whether it's through forum communities or through social media, just be careful because there's a lot of panic going on at social media at the minute, various forms of social media, or reaching out through Discord. It's all just really good for people's mental health. So just keep reaching out and keep giving support. And really, it's a great thing to do.
Nice. Very nice. All right, that is it for this episode of Podtoid. Tune in next week when we'll be answering some listener questions. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Occams, Charlotte, and myself, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or the Destructoid YouTube channel. Thank you, by the way, at the beginning for just shutting that Imagine thing down. I'm glad I didn't have to play that any longer.
I'm glad we're all on the same page with that. That just made me cringe. If I had a penis, it would shrink into my body.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.